Always learning and growing. Attracting the right people and keeping your vision in focus every day. This is the Brian Covey Show.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Brian Covey Show. So today, I've got somebody that matches my energy, enthusiasm, and passion. If you don't know Glenn Lundy, you're going to want to make sure you buckle up today, because not only has Glenn been a pioneer and a leader, I would say, in the automotive space, in the sales space, but he's also released an ebook we're going to talk to you about later. He's been doing the Rise and Grind and all of these different shows. He's been on Clubhouse and Facebook. He starts popping up in my feed everywhere. Like, I got to meet this guy. I got to figure out what's happening with Glenn. We're going to unpack some of his story, but more importantly, we're going to give you some of the tools and resources today to help you create wins and systematically show up every day to be your best and to actually produce results in a market, whether it's a recession or a great market. We want you to be able to create results in any market. So we're going to have some fun with it today. Glenn, welcome, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me, my man. I appreciate you so much. Grateful to be here. And yes, tons of wins to be had moving forward. That's for sure. What a great time to be alive.
Dude, isn't it though? You know what? And it's cool that I love just your positivity. So I'd love to start there because, you know, you have an authentic positivity. I know a lot of people have to fake this. Sometimes people wake up and they're struggling through their day, but you seem to show up and you're much like me where you're high energy. Where does that stem from? Where did that birth out of for you?
Oh my gosh, systems and processes. To be honest, Brian, there's there's two seasons in my life, and there was one season that led me to a bunch of dead ends, led me to being in and out of jail cells, and ultimately led me to a period of time where I was homeless and depressed, suicidal thoughts, suicidal attempt, all of those things. And so that season of my life is so far behind me now, but I'll never forget it, right? I'll never forget it. And so I now, over the last 14 years, really 15 years of my life, I've been able to luckily connect with the right information and be able to put systems and processes in place that keep me from that guy from 15 years ago. It keeps him at bay, and ultimately, I step into each day with so much gratitude that I'm no longer who I was, you know? And so really it's just systems and processes. It's work, bro. Like it's work. It's not just easy to continue to maximize each day. You got to put in the work, and systems and processes help that happen.
Dude, I love that you break it down like that, because a lot of people think, you know, that they see you or they see someone out there that's positive and they're like, man, they just must be wired different or something there. And they don't realize there are systems and there are processes. And they don't realize the story that you going through being homeless, going to jail, all these things have built you into who you are. I'd love to know, let's talk about what's one of those systems or processes somebody listening today, they could say, okay, Glenn, like, tell me, what was one of those that really helped you start to create this new reality and this new world for yourself?
Yeah, it was interesting, Brian. So at the end of that season for me, right, of homelessness, and at the end of that season, I tried to take my own life. I attempted to drown myself in the Pacific Ocean, and I failed at that. Clearly, otherwise this would be your most watched podcast.
Thank God. Yeah.
Right. But they'd be like, he had an interview with a ghost. But so in that moment, immediately after, as I lay on the shore looking up at the stars, kind of in shock that I had just attempted that, there were words that came in my ear. Call it God, call it conscious, call it whatever you want to call it. But the words were, you take yourself wherever you go. And those were words an old mentor of mine had told me when I was in my, at 20 years old, but I never really understood what it meant.
Yeah.
Right. Because in my 20s, I knew everything, Brian. Like I knew everything. It wasn't until I got to my 30s that I realized I actually know some things. And now that I'm in my 40s, I realize I know nothing. Like
Yes.
comparatively, I know nothing, right? But in my 20s, I knew it all. And so I didn't really want to listen to what he meant by that. But in that moment, it hit me. You take yourself wherever you go. And I looked at my life, and I had lived in multiple cities. I had different friend circles. There were different clubs and environments and that I hung out in, but the result was always the same. And I was like, what was the constant? What was the one constant? Well, it was me.
Yeah.
I was the only constant, right? And so it hit me like a freaking ton of bricks, man. I was like, okay, wow, I've created this.
Yeah.
I created this. So then that immediately, the next question that went in my head was, if I created all the negative things in my life, does that mean I can create positive things in my life? And that sent me on a journey of exploration, because I'm like, where's this power of creation come from?
Right.
Like how is it that I can create? I need to know. And the only way that we can learn who we are is we have to go through some ancestry. We have to look back.
Mm-hmm.
So I started studying, I actually studied Scientology for 6 months to try to get an understanding of who I was. And through Scientology, I learned that we are 3-part, mind, body, and spirit. I used to think we were just 2-part, mind and body. That's what I thought. And then Scientology taught me, no, we're 3-part. And then I realized, well, Scientology is not a perfect fit for me. So let's go study Buddhism. Let's study Catholicism. Let's study Christianity. And ultimately, I found a path to understanding self through the story of Jesus, right? And so once I figured that part out, I'm like, oh, we can create. Then I'm like, wow. So who's the greatest creators that are like alive today? And what are they doing? Because I'm just going to follow their systems.
Yes.
And so I found like Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Napoleon Hill, Eric Thomas, Les Brown, John Maxwell, right? I started finding all of these leaders that were creating amazing things and amazing lives. And so I started studying successful people. And I found, Brian, that all successful people, every single one of them at a super high level, they all have a powerful morning routine.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
That's
They
right.
have a powerful morning routine that taps into mind, body, and spirit. Now, the time of that morning routine is all over the board. You know, Beyonce might not even get up till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but the first thing she does when she wakes up is she goes through a powerful morning routine. That first hour when they wake up, every single person I studied. So then I was like, okay, well, let me figure this part out. So I started doing that cold shower thing because Tony Robbins talked about the cold shower thing.
Oh, yeah.
And
Know it well.
I'm out on this cold shower. I don't like this. This is not for me. I tried it, but I didn't dig it. And then I tried, oh, you mean we got to write our gratitudes every day? Well, let me try that. I'll start writing gratitudes. And we got to write our goals. Okay, let me try that. And over time, man, I put together 5 simple steps to an extraordinary life. I do it every single morning. People can download the ebook. I've written an ebook about it. It's you can read it in less than an hour. And it's just 5 simple steps that I do every single morning to what I call, it's 5 simple steps to an extraordinary life. Step 1, never hit the snooze button. Step 2, don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. Step 3, write down your gratitude and goals. I know that sounds like 2 steps, but there's a reason we put those together. Mm-hmm. Step 4, take care of the physical. And I don't care what it looks like. Walk, run, play golf, play basketball, whatever fits for you. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object at rest stays at rest. So get in motion. And then step 5, once you've done these 4 things, step 5, send out an encouraging message, whether it's a text, a Facebook message, a sticky note on the mirror for your spouse, whisper into your kids' ears, release the positive energy out into the universe. Those 5 steps, Brian, is a system that I've used every day for probably the last decade of my life, and it has been incredibly transformative. I don't know how I did life without it. So long answer to a short question. Hope you found it helpful.
No, it's amazing. I think people are going to want to rewind that. We're going to get you the link to the ebook because I do believe you've kind of uncodified some things there that some people they struggle with, right? And you just made it very simple. And it's like if you go through that in that morning ritual, morning routine, I had a coach of mine that walked me through that about 5 years ago, and I had parts of it. And I love what you said was like I was doing parts of it, but I wasn't doing it all. And when we put it all together, there is this exponential power. I found the same thing of I was doing parts of it. Maybe some days I would have a good workout, but I didn't write down my goals and gratitude. Maybe some days
Right.
I was releasing that positive energy, but I didn't do the other parts to get going. It's like when you put it all together, there's a magic to it. So I want everybody to make sure don't miss that, because I think a lot of times we try to shortcut success. And you said something I'd love for you to expand on. You talked about you tried some things. I think it's where people struggle. They're afraid to try something, or they think it's, well, Tony Robbins said I've got to do these things, right? And it's like, hey, that may work for Tony Robbins, but that may not work for you, right? Like I share with people all the time, like I love doing CrossFit type workouts in the morning. It's challenging. It's for me. It's that competitive. It's around a team. It's all those things for me. But I also, when I tore my bicep, realized I couldn't do it. So I adjusted and I went and walked with my wife, right? Like we did long walks.
Nice.
Find what works for you. And you talked about experimenting. When you went through that, when did you know that those were the right things for you versus trying to like borrow? I think sometimes we try to borrow what other people are doing. When did you know those were like the right recipe for Glenn?
The moment I was excited about it.
Ooh.
Right? Like I am excited for my morning routine. I look forward to my morning routine. I wake up at 3:20 in the morning so that I can get my morning routine done before my show. Like when I go to bed, I'm like, yay, I get like, because it's my quiet time in the morning. I have 8 kids, Brian. I have 8 kids. I have 2 businesses. I have a media company. I have all of these things. So once that sun is up, bro, it's game on, constantly serving everyone in my life that I have been blessed with the opportunity to serve. And so that first time, that hour, most people are like 3:20 a.m. That sounds awful. I'm like, dude, there's so much bliss in there. Yes. For me, I love that space. So the moment I put together a sequence that I could be excited about, I'm proud when I don't hit the snooze button. I am confident when I don't touch my phone first thing in the morning. Like, Brian, do you realize how addicted we are to these things?
Uh-huh.
Most people, this is the first thing they'll do first thing in the morning is they grab their phone, right? Most people. What's interesting is do you know what we used to do first thing in the morning before we had these?
Turn on the TV?
We used to go to the bathroom first.
Oh, yeah. Well, I still do that.
Pee. Most people don't even wake up and pee before they grab this before they even go pee. That's how addicted we are to these things. So when I don't grab this sucker first thing in the morning, I'm like, that's right. I'm in the 1% club because I'm not on my phone first thing. Yeah. I'm working on me, right? So I get excited about that. Gratitude and goals, man, there's nothing like taking and writing down what you've accomplished, being able to be grateful for that, man. I'm like, man, I am grateful for my 8,500 square foot house. That's right. I got that, right? Yeah. I am grateful for my 8 children. They're beautiful. They're smart. I am grateful for another day above ground because 77,177 people went to bed last night around the world and did not wake up today. I am grateful for that, right? And so I get excited about doing that audit of the good things I'm doing in my life. And then I get to write my goals. How cool is that? I get to dream and imagine as big as I can. I can imagine being on a stage with this guy or being in a movie or having the #1 morning show in the world. It's so much fun. And then as far as my daily activity, I do stuff I like to do, man. I like to go on a 2.5-mile run out in the woods where the sun's just coming up and the birds are chirping and you can see the little the droppings from the night before of all the animals that were scurrying across the path. Like, and if I'm out of town, oh my gosh, Brian, there's nothing like running around in a city I've never been in and seeing things I've never seen, right? I love traveling and I'll look up trails and go run by the water. I mean, golly, Brian, I'll tell you, don't tell anybody, but I was running in just north of San Diego, California. I was out there on a trip and I was running out there and I ran down the street over to the beach, ran down the beach a couple miles and I found this little cove. Bro, there was a little cove and there was no one, right? It was early in the morning, no one. It's far removed from the parking lot. There was cliffs on one side. Nobody could see me. Bro, I skinny dipped in the Pacific Ocean, bro. It was amazing, right? I ran 2.5 miles, jumped in the water, skinny dipped for 20 minutes, got back out, ran 2.5 miles back because nobody was even up. It was amazing, right? So I do... When you can find a routine that you get excited about That's when you know you hit it. You don't want to dread it, man. Like you loved CrossFit. You loved getting in there. You loved the competition of it. And that's what drove you to go do it. You love taking a walk with your wife. How nice is that? Peaceful time. You get to have conversations. So that's my suggestion. We are all unique. We are all different. The things that you're passionate about, you'll know you hit it on the head when it is something you look forward to versus something that you're dreading.
Ooh, man, that landed for me, and I know will land for others, because too many times we hear why these things don't stick and why they don't create habits is they never found something they were passionate about, right? Like I think about my 13-year-old son, our oldest son, loves to bike ride. So the other day we're going out, I'm running, he's biking. He looked forward to that. Now he's creating his own workouts. But there was a time where I would try to make him go do this or try to go do that. Didn't find it. When you
Right.
find it, lock in on it and get excited. So Glenn, you had me thinking about my daughter had a soccer tournament in Seattle, and people laughed at me, but I said the same thing. I had these new trails. There was this trail across, not the best hotel. Let's be honest. It wasn't the best part of town, all this, but across the street, I had to laugh. I was like, okay, God put this trail for me. It's running across by a river. And it's going up and down all around. I don't know it. The first day I get lost. I'm by this huge school, soccer fields everywhere, and I'm just taking it in, right? I'm looking down like, how far have I gone? I've only gone 2 miles, but it went like that, and that's
Right.
adventurous. We were created to do this. And so I hope you guys pick up on what Glenn's sharing there, because I'm listening to you going, I'm the same way. I love to be experimenting with these things and finding, like what you said, I enjoy getting up in the morning. I don't use an alarm clock. I'm kind of different. I just like to wake up. But when I wake up, I wake up. There's no negotiation. Because when I negotiate and I go back to sleep, that pillow's nice and warm and comfy.
And yeah, and sometimes I know a lot of people have spent a lot of money making their bed the most comfortable spot in the world, right? They got the nicest pillows, the softest mattress, or the hardest, whichever you like, right? The Tempur-Pedic, all of those things, right? Like I grew up sleeping on a mattress on a floor without a pillow until I was 19 years old. The first time I had a pillow was when I went off to college, right? My wife, on the other hand, she's got the bed. She's got like 6 pillows. She's got it's so comfortable, the down comforters and all these things. And I warn people, be careful. Do you really want your bed to be the most comfortable place in your life? Like, do you want to create a life where you don't want to get out of bed? Because you're not going to get much done laying in that bed. I promise. You can make a lot of babies, but other than that, you ain't going to get much done laying in that bed. So we got to be careful, man. But yes, I love that. I was in Dallas once, Brian, and I love that you said you got lost, because we don't get lost very often anymore, right? We all have devices and we use GPS, and you can go to a city nowadays, drive around in that city for 4 days using your GPS. And if somebody put you back in that city without the GPS, you'd have no idea how to get to any of the places that you went to. Right. And so when I go run in a random city, I leave the phone at home and I try to get lost. And so I was running around in Dallas because I want to make sure I can still find my way back. And I was running around in Dallas. I got lost and ended up in front of Jerry Jones's house. It was awesome, man. It was so cool. Like, that would have never happened if I didn't intentionally go, I'm just going to get lost, man. And I ended up running twice as far as I normally run because I was freaking lost, but it felt amazing.
And it's the journey. You get lost in the moment. You continue to go through. That's where I was like, you got to do that often enough to just challenge yourself. And that's the lessons we need to pass on. So I'm going to pivot out of this, because I think a lot of people know about your success in the automotive industry, right? Like, I mean, you're one of the guys, I hear your name in circles all the time. And I would love to walk people through, because you took a dealership, which we all know, and in wherever sales, we have a lot of people that listen that are in sales, mortgage, real estate, insurance, financial planning, and all that. And they could be in a season right now where they're like, you know what? Things have slowed down. The recession is here. Walk us through a little bit of that journey and that story of taking kind of, I would say, an average dealership, right? And then exponentially growing sales, right? Some crazy number, 800+%. I mean, just a number where you go, hold on, let me do the math on that really quick. And you realize how much that really is. And you go, how did you do it? Let's walk through some of those lessons you learned.
Yeah, it was wild, man. So the dealership you're referring to was in Paris, Kentucky, population 9,600 people. And they were selling 120 cars a month and had been roughly for the last 50 plus years. I came in at a perfect timing, right? Which timing plays a big role in a lot of things if you're prepared for the opportunity. And so the perfect timing, the owners of the store had just bought it from their dad. They had worked there for decades, but now they were the actual owners, and they were definitely gung-ho and ready to make some changes. And one of those owners became a really dear friend of mine. He's just a really intelligent guy and a super mentor to me. And him and I together were able to really dial in a partnership, a yin and a yang, right? Whereas he was more logistical and behind the scenes, and I was more kind of upfront and running the people side of the business, which is my jam. And we were able to grow in just under 6 years, 800% to become the second largest used car franchise dealership in the country. We went from selling 120 cars to selling over 1,000 cars a month in this tiny little town, which was unheard of in this industry. That type of growth, even that number. There's very few single point dealerships that do over 1,000 cars in a month. And Brian, the biggest thing that I learned through that experience was that when we allow and promote people to become the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be, getting them right in the right seats, their lane, their zone of genius, we can get far more out of ourselves and others than we ever imagined. So we took the old model. We did two things. First, we wrote down a list of everything that we hated about the car business as an employee of it and as a customer of it. And we just made a commitment to do 180-degree opposite of that. Wow. So like I wrote down, as an employee, I hate working 70 hours a week. So we're like, okay, we're not going to make people work 70 hours a week. We'll just do the opposite. As a customer, I hate that there's no transparency in what's going on. Okay, we're just going to be transparent. We're just going to, here it is. These are the prices. This is da-da-da. We'll just make it easy, right? We'll do 180-degree opposite. So we did that from a systematic standpoint, but then we also took the business model overall and we flipped it upside down. So Brian, what I've seen in the past is most people, and this was my experience, most people start off with a business idea. They say their motivating factor is usually, I want to make some money, right? They figure out, okay, I can sell this or whatever, I can make money. That's how it was for me. I was selling suckers and Jolly Ranchers back in high school, right? Middle school even. So I need money. I want to make money. And so I go out and I figure a product or something that I can sell that makes me money. Now, once I start making more of the money, then I start thinking, okay, I need more customers. If I had more customers, then I'd make more money. So I start seeking ways to go get more customers so that I can get more money, right? Then we reach a point where we're like, okay, wait a minute. If I had employees that could go get customers, then I can get more money, right? It'd be great. And so we go out, we get some employees, they get us some more customers, and we get more money. And that's how most people progress into this thing called business. So what we did is we took that and flipped it 180 degrees. And we said, okay, well, wait a minute. What if instead of focusing on profit and then customers and then employees, what if we focus on employees first? And we develop our employees, we pour into our employees, we create roadmaps and paths of success for our employees, and we help them grow, not just in our dealership, but outside of our dealership. We teach them about mind, body, spirit. We help them in self-development. We teach them about good finance practices, about fitness, about the importance of friends and family members and relationships. We give them a career path. If we grow and develop the people, I wonder if those people will then get us more customers and take care of our customers better because they know we're pouring into them. And then ultimately that will get us more money, right? But we can flip it upside down instead of going money first. Because people tell me all the time, well, customer's always right. Customer's number one. I'm like, screw you. If you're a customer and you're treating my people like crap, you're out. My people are number one. My team is most important. The people that I spend time with every day that are in the trenches, that are dedicated and committed to helping me build my business, they're far more important than any customer. I'll throw a customer out the showroom in a heartbeat. One time I had a customer treat one of my employees like crap, and then he came up and tried to shake my hand. I smacked his hand. I said, get out of here. Now, I shouldn't have done that, but I did because my employees mattered more than anything, and they knew that. And because they knew that, and because they were growing and developing, the average across the industry, the average salesperson sells 10 cars a month. My salespeople were selling 20. Every salesperson was selling one car a day every day that they were at work, whether they'd been on the job a week or years. Wow. They were selling at least 20. The average across the industry in the finance department, on average, a good finance guy will contract between 60 and 75 deals a month. Mine were doing 150 deals a month, and top level performance as far as gross, right? And customer satisfaction. So we were able to get far more and far further with less because we grew, develop our people, and most importantly, they knew that they were first, they were number one, they were most important, more important than a customer, more important than our profits. And that was the biggest lesson that I learned in our growth and that experience at that dealership over that period of time.
Dude, I love how you just articulated that and broke it down, because a lot of people talk about that, right? But they don't really back it up with the actions as they're going through. And I've seen, just watching your own, like you're a leader by example. I watch how you lead and how you step in and do things yourself. As you look back on the development of your team, were there specific things that worked really well, or you would have changed in developing your people? Because I think this is where a lot of companies miss the mark, is truly developing their people. Like not just sending them a course and going, good luck.
Right.
Yeah. What did that look like, and how did that work for you? And anything that you would go back and change on developing your people?
Well, I guess the only thing I would change is we'd start like a little bit sooner, the things that I know now. So it's really interesting, Brian, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here. When you change the way you start your day, it makes a massive impact in your life, right? So I had learned this lesson about morning routines. Well, then I went into the dealership world and I watched the way the business started its day. So the way the business started its day was roughly somewhere in the 8:30 realm. People started to trickle in, right? Some would be there at 8:25, other ones were 8:43, but somewhere around 8:30, they'd start to trickle in. Now, once most of the people got there, then there was one of the great leaders of the organization that would try to determine who's going to get breakfast and where they're going to get the breakfast. Are we getting McDonald's today? Are we getting pancakes? Where are we going, right? So then they would go and then send somebody off to gather the breakfast for everybody on the team. And then they'd come back and everybody would sit down and they'd eat breakfast and talk about Fortnite and how they were out at the club last night and the different drinks that they were having, all the while slamming Monster Energy drinks and cups of coffee to try to get rocking and rolling. And then maybe around 10:30, we'd start to see some production out of these guys, right? And girls, right? That's car business across the board, industry-wide. Everyone's excuse is, well, they're commissioned, so it doesn't, I'm not going to tell them they have to be here at a certain time, blah, 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 blah. So when you change the way you start your day, it makes a massive impact in your life. One of the things that we did is we implemented a daily morning meeting at 8:30 a.m. that everyone was required to attend. Now, I use the word required loosely because just having a daily meeting that people are required to be at is not enough. You have to have a compelling daily meeting that they want to be at.
Yes.
Now, originally, yes, we made it a requirement, but we created an experience that people wanted to be a part of. And I'm going to give you the system behind that because I told you I'm all systems, Brian. So this is the system that we followed for our daily morning meetings. Every single one of my clients right now, it's the very first thing that we teach. Very first thing. Step one, daily morning meeting at the exact same time, because if you change the way you start your day, it makes a massive impact in your life. Here's the flow of that meeting, okay? If you have pen and paper, I want you to write the word lead down on a piece of paper, L-E-A-D-D, and write it top to bottom, L-E-A-D-D, okay? Now, some of you are going, I just listened to this podcast for 30 minutes and this guy can't spell lead. I know how to spell lead. There's an extra D on there, and I'm going to explain why here in just a second. The L in lead, and this is what I believe leadership looks like. And I use this acronym not just for my meetings, but in everything that I do. So the L in lead stands for listen. Now, your mama told you 2 ears, 1 mouth. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you speak. So in our daily meetings, whoever's holding the meeting has to be the first person in the room, not the last person in the room. I can't tell you how many companies I've gone into and they've got all their employees in a room and then they come in, okay, I'm here now for the meeting. Everybody sit down, shut up, right? Like, no. Obviously, it's not a priority to you if you're the last one in the room. And if it's not a priority to you, it's not going to be a priority to them.
That's right.
You're the first one in the room. And what do? You listen. When your employees first come in, what are they going to do? They're going to talk about their grandma that just passed away. They're going to talk about being out till 4 o'clock in the morning drinking. They're going to talk about a problem they might be having in their relationship, or they're going to share about something they're excited about, a trip that they're going on, a cruise, whatever. So we're in the room when these conversations are happening and we're listening, because these are our opportunities as a leader to later throughout the day go, hey, Brian, I'm sorry to hear about your grandma, man. Is there anything I can do for you? Do you need the day off today? You need some time? You good? Oh, yeah, we weren't really that close. Or, yeah, you know what, Brian? Actually, I'm having a little bit of a tough time today. Hey, no problem, man. Take the day. All right, I'll be praying for you. Like, we find those opportunities if we're the first one in the room listening. And those are the little tiny things that you can do in the hallway that will scale your business and scale your company. When people know you care about them, they'll go so much further for you, right? So first we listen. Very first thing, we listen. First one in the room, we listen. Also, just a quick side note, I have some type of positive music playing, or on the screen, we'll have like People Are Awesome videos on YouTube where you see people doing like awesome stuff, but it's always upbeat and it never has any like negative words. All right. So for all of you out there that love like heavy metal, I'm just here to tell you, there is a time and a place for heavy metal. It's not first thing in the morning. Right. It's not in your meeting. All right. That's not where die. Like, you don't want your people starting there. Hardcore rap, there's a time and place for it. Not first thing in the morning, right? Not first thing in the morning. We want to set a positive energy and a positive tone. So we've got great music. I'm in there listening. The next step of the meeting is you're going to encourage. The E in lead stands for encourage. We listen first, then we encourage. So in our meetings, every meeting, Brian, we started off by anything. Let me clarify. We want to encourage the behaviors we want to see more of. Yes. So anything that I saw that was great, I would celebrate that in front of everybody. So congratulations, Brian. Got a 5-star Google review. Check it out. Mrs. Thompson said Brian's the man. Look, and we read the Google review and everybody claps and cheers, right? And then we're like, oh, congratulations, Stacy. I saw Stacy walking through the parking lot, picking up trash. Stacy, you didn't have to pick up that trash. You go, girl. I'm so proud of you, right? We encourage to start off every single meeting. Yeah. Always encourage. Now, here's where I got this, Brian. I have a bunch of kids, and we had to potty train all of those kids. And the most recent, actually Oakland was the most recent, but before that it was Fisher. He's my 5-year-old now. And the way we got kids to potty train was through celebration. So Fisher would go pee-pee in the potty, right? Yeah. And the whole family would line up outside the potty. And there's a lot of us, right? So we line up and he'd come out of the potty and we'd go, Fisher went pee-pee in the potty. Fisher went pee-pee in the potty. Fisher went pee-pee in the potty because he's a really big boy. Woo! And we clap and we cheer and he would light up, boy. He'd be so excited. And guess what? He wants more of that. So he goes back and he goes pee-pee in the potty again. Dude, this stuff is not complicated.
That's right.
Celebrate your people's wins every day. Encourage the behaviors you want to see more of, and you'll get more of it. That's just how humans work.
Yes.
So first we listen, then we encourage. And there's also a little caveat to that. When you're listening with the intent to encourage, it's different than listening with the intent to defend, the intent to interject, where you're just waiting for somebody to stop talking so you can jump in there. No. When I jump on a phone call, like I'm getting ready to call a client, I always think of this process: listen, encourage, and I'll break the other two down in a minute. But I'm going to listen to what they have to say with the intent to encourage something. Even if what they're saying makes no sense, I'm going to find something in there. I love the way that you speak so eloquently. I'm going to encourage something, right? Because I'm listening with intent to encourage. So the L is listen, the E is encourage, the A is advise. So now that we have listened to people, we've encouraged people, we've earned the right to advise. Now, most managers, not leaders, most managers go straight to advise. Yeah. They walk in, here's what you did wrong. Here's what we're going to do. Now get your butt out there and do it, right? Yeah, that's how most managers do it. They go straight to advise. You have to earn the right to advise. People ask me all the time, they're like, Glenn, why will people, if you talk and people listen to you, they'll do it. But when I tell them, they never do it. Well, it's because you didn't take the time to listen to them first. Mm-hmm. Encourage them second. Then advise them. People will take your advice if you do that. I promise. Every single time. I do this with my kids. I listen, encourage, and then I advise. I do it with my wife. I listen, encourage, and then I advise. My clients, my employees, all the things. Because you have to earn it. A title on your name tag does not give you the right to tell me what to do. It simply doesn't.
That's right.
But if you listen to me, connect with me, and encourage me, I'll listen to you and I'll follow your advice. So that's when we would go into the advise in the meetings. And the advise sessions were straight to the point. Like, hey, I walked around this lot last night and I pulled handles and there were 75 cars unlocked. Like, this is our house, boys. What are you doing? Why are you leaving everything unlocked? Like, this is okay. Or not okay. I went back to the back. There was a bunch of cigarette butts sitting out right in the customer area. Not okay. So-and-so, we got a 1-star review. Like, we got to figure this out. We can't do these things, right? You can do that and people will receive it if you do the other things first.
Yes.
So we listen, we encourage, we advise, and then we develop. The D stands for develop. Please do not tell people what to do and not take the time to show them how to do it. Every single meeting that we had, the intention behind was for them to walk out of there with one thing that they didn't know when they walked in, one piece of knowledge. So whether we were going to develop through Cardone training, maybe we were going to develop through a book that we were reading together. Maybe we were going to develop their financial literacy so they know how to buy a stock or buy a bond or invest in understanding of their 401k. Maybe I'm going to teach them something around the development of how to take better care of their bodies, their exercise and diet. Maybe I'm going to bring in some outside expert that's going to talk to them about certain sales strategies, or it's going to talk to them about how to have a profound and purposeful marriage, right? Like, it doesn't matter what the development piece is. You just have to have a piece of development in there. And then lastly, as we do this daily, the last D stands for daily. Listen, encourage, advise, and develop, and do it daily, right? So when I go to make a call to a client, it's listen, encourage, advise, and develop. When I talk to my kids, listen, encourage, advise, and develop. My employees, listen, encourage, advise, and develop. It's always that process. That's how I lead. That's how I believe most people should lead. And when you have a daily morning meeting that follows that formula of listening, encouraging, advising, and developing people, they will line up at the door to be at your meetings. And now we do that from 8:30 to 9. And now at 9 o'clock, my team's like rocket fuel, launched out there, ready to rock and roll. Whereas every other dealership in the country their people are still buying breakfast.
Man, dude, I love that. And when you said systems earlier, I hope people understand the way in which you broke that down with such clarity, and how, again, I tie it to, Clinton, you're passionate about that. I can tell when you're going through each of those, you're like, here's why I'm doing it. Here's why it works. Here's why I'm going to repeat it. Like, here's the intention. I think so many leaders today, we find that we can see great leaders and they have processes and they stick to these. Like you said, it's a daily discipline. Whereas if you're not experiencing that type of success and you're looking at your team, you're looking at yourself and you're going, where am I off? Start with those daily disciplines. And you've shared some amazing ones, my friend. This has been incredible. I could jam with you for hours. So we're going to have you back, because I want to be respectful. I like to keep these certain time frame, but you were jamming. So I'm like, this is incredible.
Well, thank you. I know I'm a little long-winded, but it's important to me that
love
it's
it.
clear. You know what I mean? Clarity means everything to me.
Well, and that's where along my journey, and I can see that when you speak and I followed your content and what you share out there, is you have such clarity about it and conviction, I would even say that, guys, this is what's worked for me, right? Take bits and pieces of this, but some of this is like, it is what it is. Like, you've got to put the reps in and do the work. It's like I tell everybody who's working out, like you said, you can pick any which way you want to do it. The results are going to tell you if it's working or not.
That's
But
right.
you also have to show up every day and do it for you to know if it works.
No
Right?
doubt.
It's not a show up. Well, man, tell everybody, where can they find you? I know we mentioned the ebook earlier. We're going to put a link
Yeah.
for that. Where else can people connect with you and follow along in your journey to learn more?
Yeah, I'm everywhere. Very easy to find. Glenn Lundy on all the platforms. Best way to connect is definitely through the Morning Five ebook. That way, I like to start relationships off with a gift. I like to serve people. So, like, here you go. And then if you read that, it tells you a little bit about my story, and then it also breaks down those 5 principles. And if it resonates with you, then yeah, come follow me on all the platforms. Let's connect. Let's get to know each other. So that would be definitely the best way, but I can be found anywhere, and I aim to please and serve, and appreciate the opportunity to meet some more folks and to rock with you, bro. Like, we could go. You and I
We
could
could
talk.
go. And I love, because so many things you talked about, and I love unpacking this because in a way, I'm listening and figuring out things. Okay, we're doing some of this, we're not doing some of that. So wherever you are in your journey, right? I look at what our team's doing. I go, we're good. We could be great here. We're good, but we could be great over there. And that's what, wherever you are in your journey, the intent of the podcast is to bring on guests like Glenn, who has really brought the fire, to actually give you processes to create success. I believe it's one success, one decision away from you changing your entire life. And so if you take that today, don't wait for tomorrow, go do something with this the day you hear it right now. Go take action. We're going to put the links in. Glenn, I know we're going to jam again. Thank you, my friend. You are not far from us in Nashville, for we'll have to connect up soon. And then I recognize we are both 77 birthdays. So
Hey,
yeah,
nice. What a
yeah.
year. What a year.
What a year, man, right? The year, I tell you, right, Elvis passed away, but it was a great year that I look up now, and I love what you share. I love just your intention and the way that you show up every day. So I just want to acknowledge you for how you show up, how you deliver, and how you're inspiring, not just me, but I know the listeners that are going to be listening into this as we share it out. So thank you.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you as well. I'll be in Nashville soon. We'll definitely connect.
Love it. Well, guys, it's been another episode of the Brian Covey Show. Make sure you follow along. Glenn's links are going to be in there. Make sure you like, you subscribe, leave us comments and feedback. That's how we find guests that are going to fit what you're looking for in your journey. And many of you have given us that feedback of where you are. It's a different season. You want to figure out how to create sustainable results and create your best life. So we've done that today. Leave us some feedback and let us know how we can serve you better on the next one. Talk to you guys soon.